You're at 1 o'clock. Come down left. Now you're too far down left. Just keep calm. Right a bit. Down a bit. You've only got 2 rounds left.
The rattlesnake always gives a warning. It never strikes without a warning. The rattlesnake tells you, leave me alone, don't tread on me. If you proceed to then molest the rattlesnake, then it strikes.
A lot of holes in the blackjack, Ted.
5 of those are in the black.
What happened to these 3?
No, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of those. Wow.
We're not looking for super quick transitions. You're gonna have plenty of time, especially now. We're not even timing you on any of this stuff. Later we'll time you, but to be honest, 2 transitions, you got 4 minutes to shoot 40 rounds. It's not really, it's not really a time crunching thing. You got time to make it safe. And, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You guys ever heard that thing? Right, so just do it a couple times, slow, safely, and it'll speed up. It'll get smoother.
Ceasefire! 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 Unload and clear!
Unload and clear!
Magazines out, bolts back, safety's on, flags in, on the rifle, put your left foot in, put your left foot out.
In most schools, the way most people learn history is names and dates, battles. They don't hear about people.
You want to put your elbows on your knees and support yourself. So if your natural target is over
What
there,
Project AppleScene is it's part riflery workshop, when I say riflery, I mean marksmanship, and part history. And in a way, it's actually more of a history class with a marksmanship component, because what we think is much more important is that the story of what our forefathers sacrificed to gain us our freedoms, we feel that it's very important that story not be lost.
As they're running away, they come across a pond. They throw their muskets in a pond. And next to this pond is an old woman named Mother Bathrick. And Mother Bathrick's out that day picking dandelion weeds to make herself something to eat. She wasn't one of the richer people in the colonies. So they throw their muskets in the pond, surrender right there to an unarmed Mother Bathrick. And she doesn't just say, "Oh my, how exciting." She gives these guys the business. So she brings them, she knows right who to bring them to. She brings them to the captain of the militia in her town and tells them, if you guys ever make it back to Britain alive, I want you to tell King George that an old, unarmed Yankee woman captured 6 of the King's Grenadiers. And that story made it back when those guys did.
You will have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to put 10 rounds into that top target.
Watch your
Line
left
ready
elbow,
on the
Dan.
left.
Get it right on there. Nice.
The line ready on the right.
Get your left elbow on.
All ready on the firing line.
Yep.
Fire.
That's the look.
History nowadays tends to gloss over the story of the American Revolution. They certainly don't talk very much about a lot of the individual players in the American Revolution.
All right. So, I like the history, but I come here to learn how to shoot. It's a good way to learn some marksmanship skills. I'm Peter. And I'm David.
Dave, follow through. Keep it all the way back. There were many heroes, and a lot of them were not necessarily the ones anybody expected to actually be the ones to stand up.
Yeah, Peter, you demonstrate.
No, I'm going to let you demonstrate. You got a pair of jeans on.
All right. Oh, yeah.
When you shoot in a seated position.
One of the surprising places I found some of the best stuff is the local historical societies of whatever town you're in. I went up to the Beverly Historical Society, and they've got this little book. It looks like some dude stapled it together in his office. 8.5 by 11 folded in half, a little blue binding thing. And it has names of all the various people. And it's not necessarily the Revolutionary War. It's pretty much all their wars. And you know, we're all proud of where we're from, whatever town we live in. Go find your story, the story of your people from your town, and you'll be surprised the sacrifices they made. You'll be surprised that the effort that got put in. And you know, I'm looking in the book, and I'm going, is that so and so from the school? Yeah. Is that so and so from the street? Yeah. And you see all these family names, and it's surprising how much history is under your nose.
Peter's first AppleScene, my second. I brought our older son a couple years ago.
I really enjoy it. I think it's something that all kids should do. They should just learn how to be able to shoot and know how to use a rifle and safety, and I think it's just really important.
Yeah.
Dave, you look like you've done this before.
It's much more comfortable.
All right.
Yeah.
I can actually find an NPOA here. I mean
Yeah, so one thing is that you're kind of standing like
It's a somewhat academic thing, so for me, a lot of it was, this was a way to put on that idea. I mean, I didn't grow up with guns, so I didn't come into adulthood feeling comfortable with them. I want my kids to feel comfortable with them. I don't want them to be mysterious to my kids.
Sorry.
So we're gonna just go run into we're gonna pop out a couple when we're done with the first round, and then just go into all the rounds.
You stand, sit, lie down on your own time.
The last two.
But your transitions are on your own time, so you gotta do it all in 4 minutes.
It's particularly interesting to think about the choices that those guys faced. You know, if you to put it in perspective, you know, it's you look at people in the past who do things that influence our life even today. These guys still got up, ate breakfast, got dressed, worked a day job. This kind of thing, they're guys just like you. So you try to put yourself in their shoes. Would you be able to do what they did? Would you make the same choices? Well, I don't mean in a literal
Not
sense.
literally,
I mean,
yeah.
Two, 3. It's the same basic round that our military uses. 223 Remington, which is also very similar to 5.56 millimeter. Different nomenclatures. Ammunition nomenclature has grown up over the last 150 years or so, and there is absolutely no rhyme or reason to it. So you just have to know exactly what your rifle shoots. But a rifleman knows what his rifle shoots. I mean, they crank out billions and billions of rounds.
But you know, school never ends when you homeschool.
This is 10 rounds. That's 30 seconds of shooting and 4.5 minutes of finding and verifying NPOA. That's what it comes down to. It's not 5 minutes of shooting, it's 30 seconds of shooting. And you have all that extra time to make sure your NPOA is spot on and for verifying those shifts. So it's going to be one magazine, 10 rounds. 2, 2, 3, 3. 2, 2, 3, and 3.
I don't
Okay.
follow that.
So it's 10 rounds, prone. You're going to start on the left and work your way to the right. You're going to put 2 into this target, shift to this one, put 2 into that target. Shift to this target, put 3 into that one. Shift to this target, put 3 in that one. For a total of 10 rounds. Okay?
Bang, bang. Bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. That's it.
What kind of men are these? That's pretty amazing if you think about it. And I thought about it too after the first time he said that, and thinking, what kind of men are these? Well, these men are the very first Americans.
So, in other words, you can help decide the course of this country, but we don't want to let you have a beer.
One of the things that we look at when we looked at the redcoat target earlier was hits count. So, you know, hits count.
You know, I find at my age, I'm not able to see the target very well. So borrowing Ross's with a scope was a huge help.
Everything that is because of how it got that way, right? Everything starts with history. History is the cause.
This wide around was the kind of thing that made a wound that you simply didn't recover from.
Large.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to go to the right, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
There you go. That's what we're here for.
Bill, that sling looks awfully loose.
I'm gonna try HPT this time, Petey.
Whether you're superstitious or not, he definitely was. And he saw an owl fly into his house that week and land on his favorite musket.
The Americans are coming. The Americans were coming.
Shooters, your preparation period begins now. Once you're ready, you can get into the prone position. We're going to be doing this prone.
Oh, line clear on the left. Line clear on the right. Line is clear. The line is clear. All right.
Every year on April 19th, there's a reenactment. It's about a 7-mile march from his home, which still stands to this day.
Yep. People living in it.
People living in it, right? To the North Bridge. And the men from Acton to, to honor his memory, make that march. 235 years later, they still make that march to remember him. You know, we talked about them having time for having time for, you know, their marksmanship drill twice a week. The backbone of the backbone of the American Army was, and still is to this day, the non-commissioned officer. To the British in 1775, the non-coms very definitely took their orders from the officers. And when half of their officer corps got decimated at the bridge, that was one of the things that broke the British so badly. They simply didn't know what to do. They were in shock that the colonials could shoot so accurately. And that's how a bunch of farmers sent the greatest army in the world in the 18th century packing. Not 10 miles from here at Concord.
So everything from here on out is going to be something you kind of heard already. So that's going to be pretty cool. You guys, we're going to stop throwing new stuff at you and just help you out with what didn't stick.
Basically, a bunch of farmers took on what was the greatest army in the world at that time, the army that had never really been beaten, and not only stood up to them, but sent them packing. Made them turn their tails and run.
The term that's used is escaping me right now, so I'll just keep rolling. They went down in very formal fashion, very orderly, sort of military fashion. The regulars, not only the privates, but all the way up the chain of command, had this impression that the citizens of the colony.
Yeah, I think that one ought to know how to handle firearms. One ought to know how to be safe with firearms. That's about as far as I would take it. I would just say that people ought to be, in general, people ought to know how to defend themselves.
Ready. Ready on the right. Ready on the left. All ready on the firing line. Fire!
I would say one should look at the research of John Lott, who's done extensive studies showing that across the board, wherever you put in restrictions on handgun ownership, on firearm ownership among regular citizens, whenever you create a gun-free zone, crime goes up. I mean, look at all the places where we've had massacres, you know, Columbine and Virginia Tech. These are all gun-free zones. Put two and two together. You don't, I mean, I wish we lived in a world that didn't have violence, but we do. There is evil out there, and so we need to be ready to deal with it.
When you're at an angle, do you know? No. I just know that if I...
And these are guys, you know, I've driven past their statues, didn't know who they were. So it's interesting to think about, you know, here's a guy, maybe a guy not so much unlike you, makes a couple difficult choices, and now there's a statue to him.
Honestly, I think nowadays if somebody walked into Hollywood with a script based on that day, he'd get laughed out of the producer's office because it was so unlikely what happened.
Freeze! That's not a very friendly gesture.
That's the big one that made the big boom.